will be the answer. So already an interesting draft coming out.
Yeah,
from
I
these
love
two
these
teams.
two bans because they're both targeting their opponent's most characteristic picks so far in this split, at least in 2.9. So Saw removed from Tribe. They've been playing it. They've been starting to get known for it. And then Chumwalker for TSM. On the other hand, Tribe don't want to go up against them.
And then, of course, the Blackfeather and Rhyme going to be the first two picks there. Are we going to see the captains start to get banned in the second rotation, though? Typically, the teams, especially B-side, have been trying to leave them open so that they can get the Lyra to pair with this Rhyme. But it'll be interesting to see if maybe that gets taken away. These are the two teams that, if things are going to be shaken up a little bit from the norm in the draft, but still be very smart drafts, these are two of the teams that would start doing that. So maybe TSM bans away the Lyra, but they are just going to take the Kestrel off the board. So you assume Lyra is going to be the pick for Tribe.
Most likely, especially if they're following the drafts that just happened or just went through in the series Cloud9 versus Nova. Also, the drafts that happened or went through earlier in the day in Europe.
It feels like the classic B-side draft right now. Honestly,
at this point, yeah.
Today's theme has just been that Rhyme Lyra on B-side with the Blackfeather first pick on A-side. So we'll see if that's going to continue to be the case.
Obviously,
other options available, though.
Obviously, she's not the only captain available. Arden is another one. Tribe usually do prioritize Lyra more, but unless they don't want to give TSM a certain captain, they should go for it. If they want to deny something from TSM, then they would go for something else, and that's why the Arden comes out. So Tribe picking up the Arden, trying to take it away from TSM.
Yeah, maybe trying to play some mind games here as well, but you assume TSM, they're going to be happy to just grab the Lyra against this and have that healing. Flash X has been one of those players that has been perfectly fine playing the Lyra. He builds it to get the most out of those heals. We saw in multiple games where he's dropping 800 plus heals on his teammates with the Lyra, and once you get towards the late game, so it can definitely have a massive impact. And of course, we've talked about the Arden Lyra matchup numerous times as well. So they do just go ahead, lock in the Lyra, and now where's their lane pick gonna go? Typically, you would think Kestrel right now, but that's not something that Bestchuck plays an awful lot.
The reason why they took quite a bit of time to pick up the Lyra was because they were thinking about their last pick. They wanted to use as much time as they could to think about it. They're going to go with the Vox. CP Blackfeather will come out for Von C in the jungle, and Vox is going to come through for Bestchuck. That's a hero that can play against the Rhyme very well and against the Arden. Dance around his Winter Spikes, and then with the Poison Shift, reduce his both his fortified health and the sustain coming out from the Eve of Harvest.
And I laughed a little bit there because we saw on the most played heroes for Flash X, Blackfeather was up there. That just goes to show how much he has played Lyra and Grace, because he played in the jungle one day and played the Blackfeather, and it makes it into his top 3 off of that alone, because every other time he has been playing the Lyra or the Grace just about. So just kind of an interesting little thing to see there, just how much priority TSM has put on those healers.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see FlashX often prioritizing those couple, but it's going to be Adagio to round out this draft for Tribe. We've seen Dienzio destroy on Adagio in the past. This is an absolute comfort pick for him.
This feels like a little bit of deja vu. I feel like we saw that draft earlier in the day, perhaps in the previous series of Game 1, almost identical coming out from these two teams is what we just saw with Nova and Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, with the Adagio, you have the sustain that can keep Rhyme a little bit more durable on the front line, but also the follow-up as the damage dealer from the backline is very reliable. When you have an auto-attack based hero such as the Adagio, the matchup between him and Vox can go in the favor of the Enzio here just because he has a stronger early game and a stronger mid game, obviously longer range as well. So Tribe seem to have the stronger early and mid-game composition, but going on into the later game, TSM definitely have an advantage, especially with their sustain with the Lyra.
Yeah, one of my big questions as well is, are they going to be able to keep Adagio alive here? You've got a Vox and a Blackfeather enabled by a Lyra for hard engage onto this backline. It's very easy to shut down an Adagio if you can jump onto him with a Blackfeather.
Yeah, the Adagio, the mobility is always his biggest weakness. Does get a little bit of movement speed from Arden Vanguards, but that's not enough to get you out of harm's way from a Blackfeather and a Lyra movement speed increased team. So there definitely is an opportunity for Team Solomid to just collapse onto this Adagio over and over again.
There's also the fact that Adagio has a very strong front line with the Rhyme and the Arden. If Rhyme and Arden are being so destructive and so distracting, then there won't be a lot of focus on the Adagio because they have to deal with his front line. So Tribe have the tools at the same time as TSM got somewhat of a comfort composition with the Vox and the Blackfeather. So this is going to be an exciting one that can go either way.
All right, we'll see how disruptive this Rhyme can be. It's time to get into the decider match for North America. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you want to make it to the World Championship. It's Team Solomid going up against Tribe. It's time to get on into our second semi-final.
Thank you very much, Munch, and I am just as enthralled and excited as you are. I'm joined by Denomine. We are going to break down all of the action in this series between TSM and Tribe. Important to note, if TSM wins this semi-final, they are pretty much guaranteed worlds. Like, they will be going in that second spot. Tribe need to win to continue their hopes at a world spot, and Tribe will start off by taking the Elder Treant for themselves.
Yeah, and it's a good start for them. You know, they want to, again, they have to win this entire weekend to even have a chance to go. So for them to get an edge early is really what they need to do to win here. We saw it in the last matchup. The Vox and Blackfeather into a Adagio who was taking a lot of damage there in the jungle. The Vox and the Blackfeather and the Lyra are just so good at getting onto Adagio because he has no way to get out of a fight. And even with the Rhyme in the last matchup, it was just too easy for Blackfeather to get the poke, to give an additional slowdown onto the Adagio, which allowed the Vox to get right in, get a lot of damage down quickly, and TSM already with a double minion candied wave here in the lane, making sure that Dienzio is locked up here and cannot rotate down.
They're looking for the Treant for themselves. Vaughncy is not here to help them out on this, as Tribe just parry their advances for the time being. It looks like Dienzio is going to push up one more wave, and TSM should be able to secure this Treant for themselves. I don't think the Tribe are going to contest. They got the first. It's balanced out at 1-for-1.
Yeah, 1-for-1. Gold slightly, actually, nope, as they farm up, it's pretty much dead even on the gold. But now, Dienzio, are you caught out, or are you the one getting the aggression?
Yeah, he's the one who's trapped Best Chuck in with him, but Vaughncy has something else to say about it as he comes in from the side. Dienzio down to about 100 HP or so. Can heal himself back up, but it's not anywhere near the healing that a Lyra can put down.
Yeah, not at all, especially since he's going that weapon route. He won't have any crystal power or any bonus health for the most part in the early game where he's actually going to get any scaled up healing. And Flash getting a little bit of additional damage down there onto Dienzio, and this is smart because he does not have a Book of Eulogies. He's relying on his actual self-heal, and when he's not allowed to use it on the minions and get that Arcane Fire down, then he's not able to proc his heroic perk, that Arcane Renewal, where he's able to regenerate his energy and keep his abilities active. So smart plays coming out of Team Solomid there. As both of the laners get a chance to recall as the wave evens out. It's going to be a Book of Eulogies for Best Chuck. So obviously going into that Poison Shiv first item, whereas Dienzio very likely going into a Sorrow Blade. And we haven't seen a lot of shopping out of the junglers yet, but obviously it's going to be a Crystal Rhyme versus Crystal Blackfeather. They're both probably going with the Shatterglass first item.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You know, getting that extra CP on board early on just helps you so much and facilitates your team fights around that 5 to 8 minute mark or so. No one's hit that great level 6 mark yet. Vaughncy on his way there, as is Tigers. They both just leveled up to 5, so it's nice to see Tigers going for a little bit of aggression into the jungle of TSM. Vaughncy down to about half HP as he's getting chased out. The Winter Spy is still connecting, and Vaughncy doesn't really have too many escapes, but Flash X is here from the side. Max Green going to join the fray as well. And Tribe will realize they can't really push too much further in this battle. Tiger's still waiting in this bush, actually dodges out the on point, misses the Winter Spire though. Imperial Sigil will heal Vaughncy up back almost to full HP, so Tribe are just going to try and get some exit frags, and they do manage to secure themselves a Treant in the jungle of TSM.
And now with Max Green rotating up, it's going to provide Dienzio some safety here to get some damage down on the turret. He shouldn't be able to take the whole thing, but you know, any damage he can get down is damage that will never come back to that turret. So, you know, it's to chip on objectives when you can safely do so. But now Flash rotating into the lane, gonna help Chuck be able to sustain and get into that poison shiv. He has the gold to do so, but he needs to find an opportunity to rotate, and it's probably gonna be now since that wave is cleared up.
Yep, just backs away. Gonna go back. Actually gets the Solar Blade first, D'Enzio, whereas the Poison Shiv, as you say, for Best Chuck has been completed. Tiger's now at that level 6 mark, continually pushing into this jungle of TSM. And I like this from Tribe, taking the imperative, saying, look, we know that we need to win this series. We really want a 2-0 to solidify our spot in the World Championships. And by pushing forward into Von C's face, trying to harass him, try to pressure him, as they're doing now, Tribe really forced TSM to make split-second decisions, which is where some teams do start to collapse. But TSM have a lot of experience at the highest level, and I don't think we're going to see them collapsing too soon. The pressure in the jungle has allowed them to take the turret, and Tribe get the first turret of the game, and with it, about a 700 gold lead.
Yeah, and again, they need to get this lead early because the Adagio is going to start to fall off as the game goes on, as Blackfeather and Vox are just able to endlessly dive onto him with no chance of escape. So D'Enzio needs to hit that early power spike. They're doing a good job of trying to do so, but Team Solo Mid have made it very difficult for this snowball to get rolling. It's actually quite an even game despite, almost 1,000 gold in favor of Tribe right now. So we'll have to see what they're able to pull together if they can get a pick here, because they really need to get Chuck down and get this first turret so that they can really start to push that edge.
And 6 minutes in, they do have a slight gold lead, as we said, about 1,000 in the lead, and they're pushing into the jungle of TSM, but it's only Max Green by himself, as Tribe will just go down towards the shop. Tiger's sitting on 1,600 gold, gets a Dragon's Eye first, so looking to get those stacks up in prolonged team fights. If he can get up towards a few Dragon's Eye stacks, he will be able to shred through this TSM lineup. Goldmine has been started off here by Tribe as well, but TSM quickly react and force Tribe just to go back to the lane.
Yeah, and so far, again, it's a slight gold lead over to Tribe, but nobody taking a huge advantage. That first turret's down, but that's the only gold they are ahead, and they were almost 1,000 gold ahead before that turret went down, so TSM have made really smart rotations to make sure that gold disparity does not build up quite as much as it looks on paper. They're only 500, 600 gold down at this point, and that first turret is worth all of 600 gold. So it's going to be about getting Best Chuck online. The Vox does take a little bit before he really can become that hyper carry. He's got to complete this Sorrow Blade and get into that breaking point before he's really going to be the that massive threat that we know Vox to be. But Von C
taking absolutely chunks of damage here, forced back onto the Imperial Sigil. Tribe able to steal away a healer once again, and that will be the mark for them to start up this gold miner. It's a tornado trigger on D'Enzio alongside that Sorrow Blade, so he will shred through his opposition if he can get some auto attacks down in these fights. Max Green on the front line has the gauntlet, can try and disengage. The gold miner does go down, it goes across to Tribe, and there's the silence from the wait group, but a good gauntlet gets them first blood, and they're going to chase onto the rest of TSM. Flash X tries to Arcane Passage away, the Valkyrie doesn't connect, but Tribe are not done yet. They're chasing, they're hounding TSM, but they cannot get any more kills. One kill and a gold miner puts them ahead alongside that sentry. It's almost a 2,500 gold lead now.
Yeah, starting to look good for Tribe, but Tribe's journey does not end if they beat TSM here. They have to deny TSM a point right now and then hope that TSM doesn't pick up 2 points in the final, or in the third place, if Tribe are able to take this series. So, it's so close right now in North America that everybody has got to be on the edge of their seat wondering who is going to be the other team going on to that world spot. TSM, obviously, they, have gone to Worlds before. They were able to take second place, and they want to get there so they can get that first place prize this time around and really make a name for themselves. But honestly, almost gets caught out there. Not quite going to drop, and obviously we already know Flash looking to move more into a coach position for 2018. I'm sure he'd love to have a Worlds win under his belt before he retires from that spot.
Yeah, always a good accolade to collect. Tribe looking good in this game though, and if they do go 2-0, that third place match then means nothing for them. They just need to win the finals and they can get the spot at Worlds for themselves, so their fate is very much still in their own hands. If TSM take a win in the series or take the entire series itself, that's when things get a little bit trickier for Tribe. TSM pushing forward here in the lane. Vonsi down to about half HP, but so's Dienzio, and you have to remember the sustained healing from TSM with those Imperial Sigils. Both roams have their fountains up, and it looks like Tribe are going to concede ground in the lane for the time being. Look at the damage onto Tigers. Vonsi's going to jump onto Max Green, and this is exactly what TSM wanted from this Black Feather. Now he's got the Dragon's Eye. Now he can build up those stacks. They can force Tribe away from this turret, but Tribe are going to try and react. Turret's down incredibly low. Here comes the Gauntlet. Turret still alive. It does go down at the end. There's the wait for it. The silence lands, but Dienzio is going to chase on towards Best Chuck. A second Gauntlet coming out. Great fight there from Tribe as they continue to chase on towards Flash X. The route with the Winter Spire and the Chill Winds. There's the double kill for the Adagio, and Tribe now will turn back towards this turret of TSM. Trying to trade after losing their first turret. They'll try and get the second one for themselves and get a 4,000 gold lead as well. Great play from Tribe. And TSM just aren't quite looking that strong, and Vonsi jumps in. Has to use the Rose Offensive to get away from that fight.
Yeah, as you mentioned, TSM aren't looking all that strong right now, and one of my concerns in this matchup is the fact that Vonsi has gone with the Dragon's Eye for the first item. So with the Black Feather, you're going to have to stick around in a fight to build up that Dragon's Eye before it actually starts to be beneficial for you. If you're just standing back trying to poke here and there, by the time you actually engage in a fight, you haven't gained any stacks, because every stack you gain, it drops off much faster than you're able to ramp it up. So it's kind of a hit or miss item for me. If you're incredibly far ahead on a Crystal Black Feather and you're able to just stay, face first in the fights the whole time, then yes, the Dragon's Eye can scale very heavily and it can make you a huge threat to deal with. But in a situation like this where you're incredibly even, it's kind of a rough item to try to use. You get usually more benefit when the game's a season even out of a Shatterglass.
And look at the build from Dienzio as well. He's at 3 items now. He's got that double tornado trigger online. Even looking for a flank here on towards TSM. That's a little bit risky in my opinion, because TSM can just turn and burn straight on towards him, and that's exactly what they're going to try and do as Dienzio comes in the backline trying to jump his way away. There's the Gauntlet already. They got one kill. The wait for it comes out, but it's a little bit too late. Vonsi solo as well. Dienzio gets a double. Great play from him. I said it was risky, but he is willing to take the risks for Tribe Gaming here. Gets himself a double. Now turn back towards the gold miner as well. That's fully stacked. This is great stuff for Tribe.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and Dienzio is quite ahead in his build right now. He does have the Sorrow Blade and a double Tornado Trigger. He's able to get a lot of attacks out with a high critical success rate. So this Adagio has done a great job of trying to snowball the early and mid game, which is really what the win condition is for Tribe. They've now taken away a gold mine as well as 400 gold payout, increasing their lead even more. And Dienzio with this level 10 infusion really shouldn't be too threatened in a fight. They have such a massive edge over this Vox that there's not a whole lot that Best Chuck can do in the fights. He has the Poison Shiv, he has the Breaking Point, but he doesn't actually have an item for raw damage to help him build up that Breaking Point. So he's in a pretty rough spot. Has got the Heavy Steel now, so that's going to help. Just the positioning that Tribe have had in these fights has been really advantageous. They've been able to get damage down onto Chuck and Vonsi very early on before either of them can ramp up these items that they've bought, the Dragon's Eye or that Breaking Point. So if Tribe can continue to keep the pressure up, and if they can continue to make life miserable for Best Chuck trying to build up these stacks, then he should never be in a position that he's able to do so, and Tribe should be able to close out the win. But if TSM are able to complete an item on Vox and get a metal jacket, they can start to turn things very quickly. Here's a Gauntlet.
And once again, Tribe going on the aggressive. The Gauntlet comes out, the second one used as well to try and lock the team in. The wait for it, but it's just not enough. The stun's going to land as well. Ends up being all for on trade. And now it's Tigers up against Vonsi, who's trying to dodge his way away from this fight. The Valkyrie actually misses onto Vonsi. He's gone back onto T-Tigers, but Flash X could only do so much from the side. Max Green chasing him away. The Chill wins, and that's great play from Tribe as they continually lock down TSM in these fights. Once again, a team fight win for them. Tribe can look to push in this wave towards that turret.
Yeah, they can. It's a little bit early. There's no Kraken up, but even just getting a kill there, the 2 kills there, is pretty substantial for them, as now they're able to take away another jungle rotation. And, well, Best Chuck is here, so they're going to back off. I think this is a risky fight for Chuck, but they're going in.
It's risky in both respects because Max Green is very low here. Tiger's very low on energy as well. He's going to go back to the shop and TSM will back away. Journey Boots for T-Tigers alongside the Eve and the Dragon's Eye now. You have to say, Tribe are looking pretty strong early on in this game. You know, we're 15 minutes in. There's a 6,000 gold lead for them. They are items ahead of their opponents, and with the Kraken spawning in about 10 seconds, Tribe are willing to fight around this gold miner, at least pushing TSM away from it so they can't secure it before the Kraken comes onto the Halcyon fold.
Yeah, and again, denying any gold they can away from Team Solo Mid right now is huge, but I think they found one kill. But we have to look at Dienzio. He's up in the lane pushing in this turret and should be able to make it out all right, but can TSM get the Kraken? That's really the question here.
And they're just going to back. They're not even going to get the Kraken. The turret will fall to this minion wave. It's good push, and now TSM realize that has gone down. They're going to turn back towards the Kraken. Tyrant's Monocle finished onto Dienzio. TSM, even if they get this Kraken, you don't see them winning from here. It's much more just delaying the game a little bit more. That Kraken down to about a quarter HP, and it looks like TSM will be able to secure it. But for it, they traded a turret in the lane, the choke point turret, which is so impactful, and now we'll have to see how Tribe can deal with this Kraken push.
Well, they should be able to deal with it fairly easily. If we look at the damage that Dienzio has on him, Sorrow Blade, a Monocle, and double Tornado Trigger, he is very poised to being able to dish out damage from quite a substantial range, which is going to make it very difficult for Best Chuck to actually have any kind of influence. It's going to be about Vonsi trying to get some poke down early. I mean, this Kraken's already dropped a third of its health even, and this is looking good for Tribe.
Yeah, Tribe might just take the fight. The Gauntlet comes down. They set up an arena to fight in. The second one used as well. Already, Dienzio's picked up a kill. Flash X running down towards the bottom side. Vonsi using the Rose Offensive to get himself away, but the Vanguard from onto Dienzio. Vonsi with the healing fast. Dienzio looking for the chase, but cannot quite get close enough, and Vonsi just about escapes. The Kraken will get one turret here, but Tribe will be able to answer it pretty easily and actually get a gold lead off this Kraken push.
Yeah, they definitely should. Chuck needs to get this Metal Jacket now online. He has the Sorrow Blade. Flash barely makes it out. Is he going to make it? He's not. But yeah, so Chuck needs to get the Metal Jacket to give him some additional sustain against this build that Dienzio has gone. But Flash also needs to get an Atlas Pauldron online as soon as possible, as well as Vonsi should hopefully work into one very soon as well. They need a way to slow down this barrage that is coming out of Dienzio. He's such a massive threat right now. I mean, looking at the fights, T-Tigers really hasn't done a whole lot. I mean, he's been impactful, but it's really been Dienzio that's the one that we're looking at and we're like, wow, that damage coming out of this Adagio is just, you know, totally uncontested. And that's because TSM have allowed it to be that way. Now, Tribe have done a great job of, you know, keeping that edge and making sure that TSM don't have the resources to deal with it. But if we can hold out a little bit longer for TSM and they can get a safe dive onto Dienzio, he has no shielding. So realistically, Vonsi can still blow Dienzio up, but if he's getting attacks out at full speed, there's no way that Team Solo Mid are going to be able to contest that damage. That's why Flash has now got this Atlas Pauldron.
That makes a lot of sense, being able to slow that attack speed. No Crucible on the side of Tribe either. Nothing they really need to block out apart from, I guess, the wait for it, but they don't really care about being silenced either. Like, Dienzio can still auto-attack when he's silenced. He doesn't care. So he's going to still be able to rain hell upon the faces of TSM. While pushing up in the lane here, you can feel that Tribe know they can take a fight at this moment. TSM looking for a good avenue into the fray as Vonsi gets the flank off, and there comes the first Gauntlet, the block onto Best Chuck. The Arcane Passage, Tigers is going to chase this one in on Flash X, but look at how much damage he's taking in that front line. The Valkyrie comes out as well. The second Gauntlet, Dienzio running in from the side. Now TSM is split up as Tribe just bound down hell upon the faces of TSM. They get a double kill, and now they look for the chase. Vonsi trying to do what he can. He Rose Offensives across the wall. Tribe do not give a damn at all. They're just going to bring this wave up and look to take out those crystal turrets. In fact, Max Green has caught onto Vonsi, just trying to delay him as much as possible here to allow his two carries to push on towards these crystal turrets. One will fall at least. Vonsi is going to back away. He gets back to base, but Tribe looking for the win here. They're going to take both crystal turrets. Vonsi on the chase towards Dienzio. If he can take him out, maybe he can stop Tribe in their tracks, but Vonsi is dead, and it's great play from Dienzio. They'll take the crystal. They'll go 1-0 up in this series, and they are so close to Worlds that they can almost taste it.
Yeah, Tribe with a great game coming out there. Tienzio just raining in all sorts of damage left, right, and center. There was never a real situation where TSM were able to return anything onto him. They found a kill onto each of the members of Tribe once, but that was it. It was constant pressure from Tribe, and they run away with this game against Team Solo Mid. Team Solo Mid fans in the crowd right now gotta be wondering.
Superb stuff from Tribe all around. They're looking to go through to the finals and face up against Cloud9. We're going to hand it back across towards the analysts to break down that game. Why don't you tell us exactly how Tribe were able to take such a dominant performance here against TSM?
Well, my host-level analysis is that they won all of the team fights and then managed to take the Vain Crystal. But that's why I've got these two guys with me to break this one down a little bit more, because this was a handed victory to Tribe, 12-3 final scoreline. TSM even managed to get a cracker, but it wasn't enough to really make a dent in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Tribe just came out of the gate swinging this. The Adagio for Dienzio is just, it's such a strong pick for him, and it kind of became a strong pick for him at the Unified Live Championship. And haven't really seen it too much since then, but it is still there. It's something he can pull out when needed to find these incredible victories because of his positioning and the positioning of the rest of his team. We talked about the fact that it is something that can be dove very heavily, but they just did a great job as Tribe ensuring that he wasn't being that heavily focused target.
Yeah, and the way they did that is by diving in on TSM. So TSM, for the majority of the game, were worried about protecting Vox rather than diving on Adagio. Yeah. And that happened only because Tribe were able to get huge advantages in the early and mid game due to how strong their composition is in that period of the game.
Yeah, and we have a couple of replays of that as well, because Dienzio came in yesterday saying that they were going to slap TSM, and almost, well, I mean, I think they just proved it in this start of this series right here.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see them chasing down Team Solo Mid, using the portal that FlashX set up to just continue to follow them up, and it was just a constant forward movement from Tribe and constant backwards movement from Team Solo Mid. They were always seemed to be on the retreat.
This team fight is beautiful. Dienzio hanging around on the flank until the gauntlet was available from Max Green. Then they decided to go in. And once they went in, they put down the gauntlet. They focused down Vox. That's another thing that Tribe did really well, is that they focused Vox on the backline every single time. And their composition is so strong in the mid game that they just went in. Rhyme frontlines, Arden frontlines, and Adagio destroys with his damage from the backline. And it just worked out so well for the team as well, because that is reminiscent of how they play as players.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff coming out from them. We have another ace that came through from the likes of Tribe around 30 minutes, or actually I think it was a double kill coming on through from them. But it wasn't just a story of Dienzio. This was a full team effort from Tribe.
And again, this is one thing we always kind of see a little bit when there's these Arden plays with the Echo, is, you know, when the gauntlet is actually used. In this one, just as the replay came in, the first Echo, or the first gauntlet, was fading out, and then Max Green used the second gauntlet. So just getting as much uptime on the gauntlet as possible. And it's always the decision of, do you just stack the gauntlets right next to each other so you have more area covered with the gauntlets, or do you just use one, hold it, and then use the second one so that you have as much uptime as possible? And it's all about reading the situation, reading how that fight is going when the first gauntlet is thrown to make that decision. And Max Green, more often than not, makes the right call.
Yeah, the way he actually used the gauntlets also was that he dropped the first gauntlet, forced TSM to burn their items to get out of it, and then dropped the second gauntlet, and by that time the second one went down. TSM had no longer any tools to get out of it, so Adagio could focus the Vox. So it wasn't as much about keeping the gauntlet up, it was about burning their tools, burning the reflex blocks, burning the Tower of Teleportation, and it made sense. And it's a very smart choice that we don't see everyone do, but Max Green, very smart in his choices.
Basically, having more resources than your opponent to be able to win those fights with. Let's take a look at the end of the game as well, coming through for Tribe as they walked this one on home after a whole series of super convincing team fights. They were able to just stroll on into the enemy base.
Yeah, I mean, they just pushed in. Blackfeather, or Arden, was trying to distract Blackfeather for as long as possible. Yes, he's going to go down to him. He knows he can't 1v1, but it was about delaying his recall, keeping him outside of his base so that the Adagio and Rhyme could push in. And you could see the damage. Full crit, 100% crit chance for the Adagio. Even when Blackfeather came in, he was able to survive. What an
Yeah.
incredible performance from DNZO and his team.
You know you're pretty fed when you can 1v1 a Black Feather as an Adagio, especially when you've already been attacked. You're already dealing with something else. He arrives, you just quickly turn around, finish that guy off, and then continue to end the game. Tribe looking amazing in game 1 of this series, and honestly, I'm quaking in my boots if I'm a TSM fan coming into game number 2, because that was not it's not like that was a very close game between these two teams. What are we expecting to see coming into game number 2 of this series between the two squads here?
The thing is, the drafts weren't terrible. Like, there wasn't a bad draft from Team Solo Mid. They got outplayed, plain and simple, by Tribe this game. So I don't know if the draft really has to change in any drastic way, but something is going to have to be done for Team Solo Mid to recompose themselves, maybe get Von C, a little bit more of an aggressive early game start, something to do, like something so that they can play to their strengths and try and shut down what Tribe is bringing to the table.
What I think TSM will need to do in order to come back in the series and not just lose it to Auto Tribe is deny Tribe from getting a composition that is a lot stronger in the early game and mid game. Don't let them set the pace of the game, because if they do that, they can carry on the momentum to close out very easily. They're a team that once they are ahead, they know how to snowball the game.
Absolutely. Churnwalker taken off the table by Tribe here. This feels like a pick that it's just specifically TSM.
Oh,
This is taken off the board against Tribe, knowing that one. Then TSM answer with a Sorband. Rhyme locked in, though, for the side of Tribe. And this is something that typically we've been seeing Black Feather as the first pick, and then Rhyme going over to the B side. This time, Tribe changing the pace.
Yeah, and I like that Tribe are going for this Rhyme pick. I do feel like the Rhyme pick is, personally, I feel like it's a little bit stronger than the Black Feather in the way that the teams round out their compositions. Like, it's the teams that are building their drafts around the Rhyme just seem to have a bit more of the early and mid-game strengths that we've been talking about than the teams that are building around the Black Feather, because he's generally going for a later game item spike. And thus far, this draft is almost identical. It's identical to game 1, just with the side swap. They're picking and banning the same heroes, so you expect something to change somewhere along the lines. Otherwise, it's going to be a very troubling time for Team Solo Mid.
Petal is a smart ban here from Tribe, because usually TSM defaults back to that pick when they're not doing so great, and they can flex it both in the lane and the jungle. So Tribe, and also the picking up the Rhyme first, means that T-Tigers will once again have a dominant jungle matchup that he can try and pressure, and as long as T-Tigers is feeling confident, he can enable his team fairly easily.
So Arden get picked up by TSM. Tribe quickly answer with the Lyra. So that's the first change from game 1, is they just swapped who has which captain. But now Tribe, if they go for the Vox here, this is again that composition that we've been seeing so frequently thus far today. They could look to go for that Adagio again as well if they really wanted to, and just bring essentially the same composition. They just wouldn't have the gauntlets, and I think that may be the only sort of, trouble that they could have now, is they're not going to have those big gauntlets to try and set up these fights. But Team Solo Mid, I really hope they don't go for the Vox here, because it wouldn't be changing enough to get them back in the game.
I agree. I think what would work the best for them is going for something like an Alpha or a Reza, something in the jungle that would basically give them a composition that is all in diving on the Adagio. It's all about getting on top of him and blowing him up. And with a Black Feather weapon power in lane this time rather than a CP Black Feather, it's a lot easier to do. The only appealing Adagio has is the Bulwark and the Sigil, besides the Valkyrie that Ryan brings. So it should be fairly easily to stick onto him and finish him off with his little mobility. Instead, though, they're going to go for Baron, a very traditional Chuck hero.
This is a best Chuck and a classic coming on through. TSM are against the ropes right now. They could end up losing out this series, and so falling back to an old school comfort pick. Is this Baron going to be enough? We've been talking about diving. We've been talking about how these compositions are going to work. How do we feel this Baron fits into all of that?
It can work with the dive if they can use the jump jets. Obviously, you get a ton of burst down, but you have to be able to navigate around this Rhyme once you land. That's the key thing for me, is going to be how Chuck positions when he uses those jump jets is going to be so important, because if you use them too early in a fight, trying to blow up this Adagio, you could be left without any sort of mobility or repositioning and getting stuck in a Valkyrie, then rooted up, and all of a sudden, before you know it, Baron's dead.
All right, we've got to get on into this game. It's game 2 of our second semi-final here. This could be the decider. Tribe may go to the finals. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you're supporting. But it's time to pass it over to Medic and Denominate and see if Tribe can grab a 2-0.
Thank you very much, Munch. Tribe so close to the finals, so close to that World's qualification spot as well. Only C9 and TSM stand in their way. I'm Medic, I'm joined by Denominate, and we're going to lead you through the action as this game unfolds in front of your very eyes.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. A lot on the line for both of these teams. They, realistically, it's still not over for Tribe if they win this one. They have to go all the way through to the end, so that's key to, make note of here. They will be up against Cloud9 in the finals if they win, and that's a pretty rough matchup, especially with how Cloud9 has played this weekend. But Tribe trying to take an edge early if they can. Obviously, this Baron's potential to come online late is huge, but will Dienzio on this insane weapon Adagio that he was able to pull together be able to prevent Best Chuck from getting that late in the game and prevent him from being the hyper carry that Team Solo Mid, have to have this game?
Tribe have a bit more of engage in this composition as well, with the Lyra being able to jump on towards that backline, so I'll have to see if they're able to use that effectively. Last game we saw Dienzio with some incredible flanks. They actually engage onto Best Chuck, forcing him away, but there's a big wave here, so Dienzio doesn't want to go too deep onto that. He needs to clear out the minions first. Best Chuck with a 10 CS advantage at the start of that trade. Now Dienzio is going to equalize that a little bit. But look at how much damage he's taken in return, Max Green is here to heal him back up with the Imperial Sigil, but Dienzio still won't be at full HP in this laning phase.
No, he's not, but there's still a lot of time left with the double heal right now on the side of Tribe. It's very easy for Dienzio to stay in the lane. T-Tigers is looking for some aggression in the jungle here, but can he find it?
I'm loving this from T-Tigers. So much more aggressive in this series than he has been of late. Continually pushing in. Best Chuck almost goes down there as well. This is great stuff from Tribe. Doing exactly what they want to. Just pushing into TSM. Minion candied the wave as well to try and deny it from Best Chuck. And this is just superlative from Tribe. They're really taking this game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Max Green's pretty low here, but so is Chuck. And again, there is double healing on the side of Tribe right now, and that's something that TSM don't have to their advantage this game. And Tribe are pushing this advantage so early. We're only 3 minutes into the game, and that turret is below half health. So Tribe, they're feeling pretty great right now as they are going to look to rotate down and try to save T-Tigers.
Oh, Tigers almost dies to the Scout Trap. Does get taken out first. That was a little bit of greed from him. FlashX and Von C were waiting in the wings, and it's TSM who take first blood in this game, but they exchanged that kill for some pressure on the turret that you were talking about previously, Denominate, and Tribe won't be too upset with the fact that they give up first blood here.
Now, they won't be too upset, as again, they have so much more sustain right now for Dienzio in the lane. Even as low as Dienzio is right now, in about 10 seconds, he's going to be looking much healthier. If Max Green lives,
going to kill Max Green! That is great stuff from Von C, doing exactly what Tribe were doing to them in game 1, getting those flanks off, getting the positioning off. And now T-Tigers is going to have to aggress into the jungle by himself once again. And we've seen how good TSM are at reacting to this. FlashX is already on his way down. Although T-Tigers has that level advantage, we'll have to see what he can do. Puts the Winter Spire down, gets one, the Chill Winds as well, but Von C able to run away with the Vanguard. Another good Winter Spire will hit onto Von C. And Tigers is doing a good job of continually harassing into this TSM jungle, but Von C takes away the Treant with an on-point. Now it's up to Tribe to try and push on towards this turret. It feels like they've lost everything in the jungle. Can they get something in the lane instead?
Yeah, TSM have done a great job of taking anything they can get early on in this game, but it's Tribe to answer with the first turret. And Von C in that last play actually came out of nowhere and killed Max Green very early on. But again, even off of 2 kills, Team Solo Mid have not been able to get any damage down on this turret just because Baron takes quite a substantial amount of time to come online. you know, the Adagio is going to have a much stronger mid-game spike. He's got that Sorrow Blade. He's going to start working into critical damage, probably the Tornado Trigger route again. And Adagio just naturally attacks faster than the Baron, so he's able to get a lot more harass down and can keep up with the Baron's clear in the lane. You know, Baron does get the AoE damage onto the lane minions. It is a little bit less, but you know, Adagio able to shell out that many more attacks, as well as until Best Chuck gets his ultimate online, Adagio has a slight range advantage.
And he does. Tribe looking for a fight in the jungle here. Vonsi has just pinged towards that level 6, has the ultimate available. Max Green still only level 5, getting forced away here. The jump jet's in for Best Chuck. Look at the damage. The Valkyrie doesn't quite connect, but Tiger's with the chase. The Winter Spy, there's the first kill for Tribe, popping down the verse as well as they try and sing a song to TSM about winning that spot in the World Championships, but it was a bit cacophonous, not very melodic there from Tribe as they just push towards the lane instead. Flash X chunked out by D'Anzio, but TSM able to defend their second turret in the lane.
And that's still, it's a little bit of a lead right now for the side of Tribe. It's not anything substantial, but they've done a great job in both the first game and game 2 now of making sure they keep their aggression up as much as they frequently can and make it difficult for Best Chuck to ever actually get to a comfortable situation where he has a chance of winning. So, you know, I'm giving the edge to Tribe right now as they're also going to get this gold mine probably uncontested. Vonsi's coming in, actually.
It's going to be a bit of a contest there. Is the Dragon's Eye finished as well? Vonsi looking for D'Anzio as he jumps into that backline. The Iron Cannon does a lot of work in that fight as well. T-Tigers trying to get rid of these pesky TSM members. Max Green with a great Imperial Sigil. Tigers takes a shot to the face as well. That gold mine is still working away on Tigers, who is going to fall, and TSM are looking for the ace here. Do get it just as D'Anzio respawns. They get the gold mine as well, and what a great fight for TSM. They've turned this game right on its head.
Yeah, they rotated down so fast, I didn't even think they knew it was quite going on yet. And then here comes Vonsi like a missile, guided right onto D'Anzio, looking for the kill. They're able to get it as a team. They're up now 5-1 and even out the turrets. Just like that. And oh, actually, it's not even going to be D'Anzio making it away in the lane. The chase from this Baron with the jump jets, a little too much. Again, Adagio has no way to escape once he's in a fight. He relies solely on his captain. And the first couple minutes were looking like Tribe was just going to storm roll through this game. And, you know, TSM answered very quickly back with some kills of their own and evened up the objectives.
A pretty dire straits for Tribe here as well. When you've got an early mid spiking team and you're playing into a late game Baron and you're 3,000 gold behind at the 8-minute mark, you are not in a good position at all. Falling behind in terms of money, they've got nothing on their side as Vonsi once again just gets straight onto D'Anzio. Vonsi doing such work against this Adagio here. D'Anzio is dead to an on point. T-Tigers trying to take out Best Chuck, will be able to get him down, and now it's a 2v2. It's Tigers against Vonsi, and this is a trade we have seen so many times throughout the Evil 8. And the Vainglory8, actually. Evil 8 was last year, but Vonsi will get the kill in the fight there, and Tigers is all by his lonesome against Flash X and Vonsi. Tigers will have to do something absolutely miraculous to win this. Can't do it. The ace doesn't quite come out for TSM, but they won't mind that D'Anzio has respawned. They are 9 kills to 2 up. They have almost a 5,000 gold lead, and they are looking dominant in Game 2 of this series.
Yeah, Best Chuck has gone with the tension bow for his second item, so looking for some of that natural pierce in the item. Now, it is helpful in the sense that it is a little bit of burst up front, but the real damage for Baron is going to come through once he gets the monocle and the tornado trigger online as well. He'll have a large crit chance, he'll have some pierce, and he'll have the base damage out of that Sorrow Blade that's going to help him carry on through the fights. Looking down at Vonsi, he's in a pretty comfortable spot as well. He has the Dragon's Eye, which, you know, again, I don't particularly like this item too much on Crystal Blackfeather, but he also has the Eve of Harvest, and he's already working into his third offensive item so that he can try to get in and blow D'Anzio up. Yes, Rhyme is tanky, but in most situations, especially with the Eve of Harvest first item, he doesn't really have the damage to carry out a 2v3 fight. If it was a Shatterglass, it might be a little bit different of a story, but that's not the story. The story is that there's an Eve of Harvest on Rhyme. So, again, D'Anzio dies, and TSM win the fight. If Chuck dies, TSM lose the fight.
I have to see if it happens. Dienzio goes low, but a great Valkyrie onto Chuck, and it's not quite a 1-for-1 trade. Chuck does go down in the end. Vonsi on that backline, chasing onto Max Green. He wants to make a Lyra out of the Lyra and gets the kill. And now Vonsi is going to chase onto Tigers as well. Not really much T-Tigers can do in this situation. 2 levels behind. Feather dodging out the on points incredibly well, but does take a feint of heart to the face. Good Winter Spire from him. Now almost takes out Vonsi. Actually, this is good stuff from T-Tigers. It's going to force TSM back. Doesn't allow them to get that 3rd kill of the fight, and TSM still in a strong position, but Tigers trying to hold on here for Tribe.
Yeah, he's trying to, and you know, TSM have really pulled together in this final game, or in this second game, I mean, and they're starting to look in a great position just because, again, Best Chuck is a little bit ahead right now. Dienzio is already being forced to commit into armor. Saw a double 500 damage spike come out of Best Chuck there, which brought Dienzio very low early on in the fight, and from then it was only a matter of time before they were able to drop him. Best Chuck did die as well, thanks to some great plays coming out of T-Tigers. The Valkyrie landing down, as well as Dienzio getting a couple attacks off before he ever so slightly passed away. And now Tribe, they're looking to hopefully find a little bit better of a fight next time. Maybe use that gauntlet to separate the members of TSM, as opposed to you know, trapping yourselves basically and like.
Yeah, it's not the best gladiatorial arena when the enemy has 2 swords and you're sitting there with a wooden spoon trying to fight against them. Max Green goes for the engage here. So they put down the bright bulwark. The Iron Cannon's going to do absolute work to Tribe. They've already lost 1. There comes the second gauntlet as well. Max Green's like, oops, can't passage out of this one, and TSM get 2 kills once again. Chase onto Dienzio is strong as Vonsi goes in. Flash X trying to be that frontline. Blood for blood. The on point doesn't quite connect, but Dienzio just trying to have his Crystal Sentry do a little bit of work here. It's going to be the ace you have to feel for TSM. As once again they clean up Tribe. They are looking so strong in this second game. And you have to remember, if they win this semi-final, they are going to Worlds. The rest of the results do not matter if TSM take the 2-1 hit.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been such a crazy series so far. There's so much tension on the line. And Team Solo Mid, they're going to go ahead and start up this gold mine while Tribe are forced to deal with the ace wave here underneath the turret. And they are going to get this gold mine uncontested and extend their lead now. They're sitting 6,000 gold in the lead, as well as they're going to get the chance to shop right now. Chuck does have the monocle online and is now starting to work into his 4th item, which 9 times out of 10 on him we see be that tornado trigger. It's not as much raw damage as the going the double monocle route, but you're able to get more attacks off. So in turn, that splash damage, you get more attacks off, you actually deal more overall. So it's a good path for Best Chuck to be on, and Dienzio is quite far behind. Best Chuck, you know, again, working into his 4th item, Dienzio working into his 3rd, and because he's had to buy armor and a block this game, he's not going to get to a point in the game that he has 4 offensive items and can have the impact that he did last game.
Crystal Sentry defeated.
Will want to still be able to get that damage down from the side, and you have to remember Vonsi doesn't actually have any defensive items for his own. He's gone for all of the damage. Alternating Current, Eve, Dragon's Eye has a piercing shard there as well, just for a little bit of extra damage. And you have to wonder, you know, if he gets caught out, if he mispositions in a fight, Tribe do have a very clear way back into this game. They are 6,000 gold behind, and TSM are looking the stronger team at the moment, but you can never count Tribe out. You can never count Dienzio out, or T-Tigers, or even Max Green. We've seen them play so consistently when it comes to these heavy stakes games. But TSM will now just push in the lane. There's still a turret in their way before they get towards that choke point turret, and Tribe willing to defend for the time being.
Yeah, and at this level of play, you can never count any of these Vainglory8 teams out, but we'll get into more of that after this fight.
Yeah, first gauntlet will be used. Dienzio straight into a porcupine mortar. The second gauntlet comes out as well. Dienzio still alive in this fight. Best Chuck has gone down. Dienzio gets caught out by Vonsi, but the Valkyrie comes down, and now it's on Max Green and T-Tigers to fight off the forces of evil that are TSM for Tribe. They won't be able to get the damage down onto Vonsi. These Winter Spires are not connecting. Max Green needs to get his way away. The Imperial Sigil back up in a second, doesn't quite have the time to use it. Vonsi now doing absolute work in this fight, but takes a Winter Spire and a chill wins to the face. Vonsi almost down, somehow surviving. Vonsi falls, Flash X gets the ace. And TSM once again win the fight 3-2 this time.
Yeah, 3-2, and they won't be able to take a huge objective advantage off this one, but Flash able to secure the ace will send a couple ace minions into this turret, and Dienzio is going to have to deal with those. You can see them chipping away at the turret there. Now, important to make note, this is not the most recent update. This is 2.9.1, so the minions have not got that damage buff onto turrets, but you know, they still, if you allow an ace wave to sit on your turret, one ace wave will essentially take down a turret by itself. 15 minutes in now, the Kraken is awakened, and look at Von C's build right now. Dragon's Eye, Eve of Harvest, alternating current, working into a broken myth. This is classic Von C. No fear, just fight. All offense, no defense. And thus far, it's worked out. I mean, 17-5 right now in this game. This looks like a totally different TSM than we saw in game number 1.
It does, but these fights are actually getting closer as we get further on into the game. You look at it right at the end there, ended up only being Flash X left alive. Best Chuck is scaling up on this Baron, so we'll have to see if TSM can keep him safe, but if Tribe continually get on that backline, they do have the opportunity of winning out these fights. They just need to keep Dienzio alive for a little bit longer. He's got double Tornado and a Sorrow Blade now. He's in a strong position. Coat Plates completed on him as well. Tribe are going to back away for the time being as they reset, get those infusions up. T-Tigers doesn't have an infusion of his own yet, sitting a little bit short of gold for it, but you sense that this next fight around the Kraken is going to be a monumental point, a turning point in this game if Tribe want to get back into this series.
Yeah, Dienzio, you know, is at a decent spike in his build now, and, you know, we just got to work on the actual positioning in these fights. Unfortunately, because Dienzio has played a little bit far forward, it's made him very susceptible to Flash X able to lock him down in a gauntlet, and that's where we've seen the Ion Cannon coming out shortly after, where Dienzio doesn't have anywhere to go. Again, he doesn't have any movement, and he's burning his reflex block quite early on, trying to avoid some of the damage from Best Chuck, and that keeps him locked up by Flash and allows TSM to continuously set up these plays. And now it's TSM, they know they have the advantage, and now they're looking for T-Tigers.
Honestly, onto T-Tigers, Gauntlet comes down, Dienzio trying to dodge around the side of this fight, but the on-point hits on 2, there's the Iron Cannon as well. Dienzio turns his attention onto Von C, and Von C's dead! No defense! You can't fight when you're dead, my man! And Best Chuck's dead as well, and Tribe somehow have turned this one around. TSM so bemoaning the fact they don't have any defense on Von C. They lose 2 members, they're going to lose a Kraken as well, and Tribe can taste worlds now. They are so close from knocking TSM out of the VG8.
Yeah, and with this Kraken push, they have a real chance of doing so and denying Team Solo Mid any points here in the semifinals. And T-Tigers is holding this Kraken and allowing Dienzio and Max Green to force the wave up so they can take this turret and then rotate back down as a team, be able to get the health buff all together. They'll be able to hit up the shop, and then they'll be able to push, hopefully, for a victory. If you're a Tribe fan out there, you're looking for that 3-turret push out of this Kraken. Like I said, there's T-Tigers holding it up. Tribe are all together. They've already shopped with the exception of Max Green. You know, they're poised in a position now. If they can find one more fight like they just did, where Dienzio doesn't have to get locked up between Von C and Chuck, then they definitely can pull out this fight. And if, you know, looking over the side of Team Solo Mid, we have to see the aggression coming out onto the same target, preferably Dienzio. When they're split like they were in that last fight, it allows Tribe to live too long. It allows Max Green to heal up the team too easily.
Oh, Tribe have engaged here, looking for the fight on the backline. There's the Iron Cannon. The turret does fall, but the damage coming out from Von C is absolutely devastating. Max Green, T-Tiger's the last to fall as well, and the ace comes out for TSM. They have broken the base, and Tribe will be okay. They'll be content with the fact they broke the choke point turret, but TSM win out that fight. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, they do. They make a great call to go in there, and they are able to find the ace. They take down the Kraken before it does too much devastation onto their base. They have lost 2 turrets off of the back of that last fight, obviously the tier 2 and the choke point, but now they, with 15-second death timer still left on Tribe, they'll be able to even close to even up the turrets. They'll be able to take down the T2, they'll be able to rotate through Tribe's jungle, pick up some additional gold, which will allow Von C to finally get some defense online. He has some armor started, and I'm interested to see if he goes into a Atlas Pauldron or a Metal Jacket. I'm going to lean towards that Atlas, just so they can continue to slow down the attacks coming out of Dienzio. He's committed his build to a lot of attacks, to maybe not as much potent damage. It is a lot of crit still, so that's something to make note of, but he has gone into the Metal Jacket, and I'm pretty wary on this one, Medic.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit wary as well. I think the Metal Jacket, like, it can work. You know, Dienzio is doing a lot of damage in these fights, but we'll have to see how Tribe play around it. I really feel that last engage from Tribe was very off kilter as well. I'm not sure why they decided to go all in when they didn't really need to. The turret was going down anyway. It felt like they just forced TSM into an easy fight for TSM to take, and here comes the gauntlet once again, looking for Dienzio off towards that backside. Von C on the chase, but the Valkyrie comes out and already Chuck's dead, and now Tribe can turn onto Von C, but that is so much damage coming out from the Black Feather. He's building up those Dragon's Eye stacks. It's on Max Green and T-Tigers. Von C rolls defensives away. Going back in for the re-engage, but now Tigers is going to land those Winter Spires, looking for the stun with the chill winds. There's the route up. T-Tigers trying to look for the Winter Spires, but Max Green dodging his way away. The arcane passage on point connects. The Winter Spire does not, and T-Tigers now needs to get away from this fight because Von C and Flash X can chase him down. The attack speed slow from the Atlas. Von C so low. Rose offensives away. T-Tigers gets taken out by TSM, and a great ace from TSM to win that fight.
That was a crazy play coming out of Von C and Flash there. I thought for sure Von C was going to tick down the damage thanks to the Frost Guard out of T-Tigers, but thanks to On Point just coming off of cooldown and good accuracy out of Von C, he was able to get the barrier, and then coming through with that Faint of Heart for the execute, they were able to get the kill. And just like that, Team Solo Mid, they find a fight. Chuck did drop, but they're poised now, getting this Kraken for themselves. Best Chuck has sold off his boots and has completed an Aegis and a tier 2 armor. And Team Solo Mid now are looking to push as well. They have 3 turrets between them and a victory, but if they can find another clean fight, they can send us to a game 3 and be looking all that much better at securing a world spot. As they have just shopped everybody but Max Green is infused. There's the infusion right now, but it's only a level 11 infusion. Max Green has been denied so much experience. So no overdrive in either the Bright Bulwark or that Arcane Passage yet, and that could be the difference in this next fight. If TSM can make the right engagement, they can end the game here.
Von C seems to be the difference in these fights as he gets onto Dienzio. The gauntlet's coming out, though Von C's quite low. There's the stun. The Valkyrie doesn't quite connect, but Best Chuck almost gets taken out. Jump jets away, looking for the crits. Can't quite get the Best Chuck, somehow surviving off towards the backside of this fight. He does go down eventually, but so does Dienzio. And now it's all on T-Tigers, who cannot do anything. Von C at the end coming up huge for TSM. They'll push in with this again, and they will take us all the way to game 3.
That was almost perfect execution coming out of Team Solo Mid there. Chuck was able to survive just barely on the edge of death, around the edge of that fight. He did drop, but not before dishing out a ton of damage. And Von C with this Crystal Black Feather, such a great performance this game. 15-2 with 10 assists. He's got to be feeling good on that one.
Yeah, I'd be feeling pretty happy, especially since it looked in the middle portion of that game for a brief window that Tribe were actually going to win because he hadn't built any defense, but the build comes up big at the end. You know, the Metal Jacket doing a lot of work for him, and TSM show us why they are known as one of the best teams in NA, why they've been so consistent. They come back, they equalize the series, and they're going to take us to the game 3 as well. We're going to hand it back across towards our analyst to break down that game and lead us into what could be the most important game of VG8 this split.
Absolutely. We are going into game 3 in this series, and honestly, in Von C, I'm pretty sure the C stands for carry after a performance like that. In one of the most important games of the entire year, Von C gets 15 kills individually and multiple fights in a row towards the end there. He was the single factor that decided the fight.
The decision-making from Team Solo Mid this game, Best Chuck was getting focused every single fight, and he did a great job of staying alive as long as he could, especially through the early game, was able to find these fights. But when they recognized that Chuck was the focus every single fight, Von C says, okay, I'm not going to build any defense because they're not targeting me, and instead I will just obliterate my opponents with all of this damage that I have built. It was a very heads-up decision with the build path and priority for Von C this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Metal Jacket provided him all the defense that he actually needed, and it was also the fact that Baron was diving onto the Adagio, so it forced Adagio to get a Metal Jacket of his own. So at this point, DNZio had only double tornado triggers with a Sora Blade, no armor piercing, so his burst was not getting through to the Blackfeather, and that's why he was not able to finish him off. I mean, it was also a risky call from TSM to give Blackfeather again to Vainglory8, but this time he showed up huge on it.
Yeah, it's been this constant battle of Rhyme versus Blackfeather across the course of today. This time Blackfeather comes out on top. Let's take a look at some of the moments from that game, because TSM, not happy with a Game 1 defeat, came out swinging.
Yeah, and you can see early on, BestChuck was able to just narrowly stay alive, but finding the damage in these fights, able to get the jump jets through onto the targets that they needed. And, you know, we were saying that it's all about when and where you use those jump jets, and throughout the early stages of this game, he was using them expertly, finding kills at time and time again, or at least the damage to set Vainglory8 up for the kills.
And T-Tigers, throughout the mid-game, he was able to secure the kills onto the Baron, so it made the team fights a little bit more even. But later on, as Baron got to his later game stage, it was a lot harder. You can see here, Blackfeather always able to finish off the team fight, even though Baron goes down in the first place, is what helped TSM keep winning those team fights and keep on getting objectives, and so they are able to scale Baron with the gold they're gaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I can't believe how close some of these fights were. And even when we saw aces coming on through, in a lot of those scenarios, there were very few members remaining on the map. We had a couple of aces coming through from TSM towards the mid stages of the game. Yeah,
and this was when that Baron really first came online. The 3-item spike was doing so much damage. And again, the gauntlets. Last game, it was Max Green with them. This game, it was Flash X. And you see kind of the difference in styles in how the gauntlets were used. Flash X was constantly overlapping them, creating the Venn diagram of gauntlet walls, whereas the Max Green was more about saving them and blowing the enemy's resources and then throwing another gauntlet. For Team Solo Mid, it was more about just creating as many stun opportunities as they could.
I mean, it really was crucial for Flash X to pick up that Echo and have the double gauntlets. You can see there's another team fight where Baron does go down to T-Tigers, but Blackfeather or Arden and Blackfeather remaining in the 2v2, able to finish off the ace and able to finish off the team fight off of really smart focus, target focusing coming up from Vainglory8, focusing the Lyra first every single time so that he's not focusing the tanky Rhyme while Lyra is healing him up. A very smart choice, but the Echo coming up for the double gauntlets, it just restricted the movements of Team Tribe, and they were never able to finish off a team fight the way they wanted.
And we kept on seeing it get to just the junglers and captains surviving in the fights, and it felt like they just weren't able to get the Rhyme damage onto this Blackfeather because he was just dancing around the 5-1C, doing such a good job in those situations. Let's take a look at the next ace TSM managed to get. This was around 20 minutes, and it led to a Kraken.
Yeah, at this point, it felt like TSM were just going to run away with this one. There was going to be no competition. But then, all of a sudden, you see a little bit of damage start to come through for DNZio, some signs of things to come. But again, Vainglory8, once it's this 2-on-2, just has so much damage and focuses onto getting onto the Lyra as much as he could. T-Tigers was doing everything imaginable to try and get the damage onto the Blackfeather, but he's so slippery that the Winter Spires just were not connecting until it was too late, and Vainglory8, again, able to close out that 2-on-2 fight.
I mean, it was really well played by Vainglory8. This is one of the best performances I've seen from him all year long, and he's showing up when TSM needs him the most. This is another team fight you're going to watch here. Got 2 gauntlets dropped down, so the movement is so hard for Tribe right now. You see Adagio getting stunned left and right every time he tries to move. They finished the kill onto the Baron with a Lyra Sigil and a Lyra auto attack, but it didn't matter because the Blackfeather had done so much damage at that point.
Yeah.
And it's just such an incredible performance from Vainglory8. I cannot emphasize how huge how huge he's showed up for his team.
And in that last fight, that stun from the gauntlet was so important. They managed to avoid it for so long, but eventually you just don't have any reflex blocks left. And when BestChuck was 1 hit from falling, that was when DNZio got stunned. Chuck was able to take a couple of steps back and get out of range and fire in 3 or 4 more missiles before he ended up falling. So if that double gauntlet wall is not exactly where it is, if DNZio gets 1 more hit off onto Chuck, Chuck goes down, and that's an entirely different team fight.
It's an entirely different game based on for that fight as well, but it was not meant to be for Tribe, but it means that we are one apiece in this series. Let's take a look at the damage done during that last game, as we're going to be heading into the 3rd and final game. Vainglory8 topping the table, and honestly not too surprised about that one. Honestly,
That
both
is
of the
an
junglers.
insane number.
Yeah, 72,000 damage is a huge amount of damage.
And
But
especially
importantly,
for a
both of the
jungler.
junglers beating both of the carries.
Yeah, especially for a jungler to have that high amount of a damage graph is so impressive, and for Rhyme as well. And the reason why that was the case is because Baron was being focused every single team fight, so he was dying early on. And as I mentioned earlier, Adagio, he was forced to build more defense than he would have liked, so he did not have armor piercing, and the metal jackets really nerfed his damage.
Yeah, he was also getting focused every fight too. So, I mean, we saw in those replays how many 2v2s we ended up having of just basically Rhyme versus Blackfeather with the two captains there. So the junglers definitely being put on display a bit, but because there was so much focus on the laners.
Here we go. The draft is underway. Once again, Churnwalker and Saw will be banned away by TSM and Tribe. TSM this time on the A side, and they are getting that Black Feather for Von C again immediately.
Yeah, you got to wonder, are Tribe going to go back to the well again and continue to keep this trend alive of Blackfeather versus Rhyme? I mean, it worked for them in game number 1. They weren't able to have the success in game 2. Do they now change it up? You can see they're putting a lot of thought into this.
I mean, the Black for the first pick for TSM, for Von C, you can't blame them for that pick just because Von C is performing so impressive, so incredibly well, and such an impressive performance coming out from him. And when he is such an emotional player, and he's just had one of the best games he's ever had all year long, you have to give him the same hero he performed well on so that he can replicate that performance.
And now it's interesting because a lot of different thoughts can go through these players' minds of where they want to go with this draft. The Grace is going to be the ban. This is Tribe saying that Lyra is not the focus in this draft. They go for the Arden first to make sure that they can try and get that pick. And now Lyra is still available and will likely be picked up by Team Solo Mid, but Rhyme then gets banned by TSM, so they will be taking that off the board. And now Tribe, do they go for one of those other picks that was available? The Petal and the Kestrel were both being banned in the previous 2 games.
Petal could be a huge priority here. Besides that, I'm wondering if Von C or T-Tigers will default back to the Koshka that he's played in the past so well, and he's dominated junglers with it, to be honest, and completely snowballed games. So that's another option for Tribe. Not too much left for them, 15 seconds. They have to decide fairly fast.
Kestrel will be the lock-in here for Tribe. We've seen Dienzio do such an incredible job on that pickup in the past. Wouldn't be surprised to see that going towards the lane, but Blackfeather can certainly do a good job into a Kestrel later on into the game, so we'll see how that matchup is going to pan out in this one. TSM have to decide how to finish out their composition now.
Yeah, I still expect Lyra to be picked up by Team Solo Mid here, just because Arden and Grace taken off the table. It just makes a lot of sense to try and go for the Lyra, but you do have to be careful when you're playing the Lyra that you don't end up portaling onto active camo traps. That's something we've seen happen so many times throughout the history of Vainglory.
If TSM has something they have been practicing for a very long time and have been trying to hide, this is the time to pull it off. And if there is such a thing, it would be to replace the Lyra with another pick such as the Finn or a Fortress or something such as the Lance. You don't go for the same hero you picked up in the first game and lost with. So TSM changing their draft slightly in the hope that they have a better result than they did in the first game. Last pick is going to be also very important, and the Baron is open if they want to go with the same route.
And they very well could go for this Baron. It works so well for Chuck. It's just one of his big comfort picks, and he's able to find ways to run it, even though he claims that he doesn't like playing it. I think you don't argue with the results that he has been able to pick up, but they are going to run the Alpha instead. So changing things up completely, going to be putting the Blackfeather in the lane with Alpha for Von C.
All right, very different compositions to what we've been seeing basically for the rest of today. We've got very hard engaged for TSM, very hard disengaged from the side of Tribe. So this is going to be a very different game from what we've been seeing across the course today.
A very different game. TSM will have to be very, very aggressive throughout the mid game and even late game in team fights. They will have to get on top of the Kestrel. The thing is, they're going up against the Baptiste. That's a very, very smart pick. Very smart last pick coming out from Tribe, because with the double gauntlets and the Fearsome Shades and the Ordains, now you have so much protection for the Kestrel. The only thing that could save TSM is Alpha's early game, and if she can shut down the Baptiste.
And another thing to touch on is just how important it was for Team Solo Mid to even get the one game. Even if they lose this series now, getting that one game gives them the head-to-head tiebreaker over Tribe, no matter what happens. So then if the finals ends up resulting in these two teams being tied, Team Solo Mid will take the spot over Tribe. So absolutely crucial that TSM got that one win. Of course, they would much rather just take 2 wins, go into the finals, and not have to worry about it at all.
All right, this is going to be the last game in this semi-final, and what a semi-final it is. You've just had all of the tiebreakers explained to you, but we'll see if those are going to come into effect. TSM can still take this one, but they have a battle to win just yet. Team Solo Mid against Tribe. We're going into the semi-finals. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you want to take this one. Who do you want to go to the World Championship? It's time to get over to our casters and find out for real. It's Medic and Denominate.
Thank you very much, Munch. We are here in the final game of this series. TSM and Tribe have shown us incredible plays over the last 2 games, but only one team can come out the victor and go through to the finals. It's still not all decided for that world spot as well. One of these 2 teams will be securing that second world's qualification spot, and TSM now with the tiebreaker will be very comfortable in this position, but still wants to take the win. Looks like it's a little bit of a flank here from Bestchuck, who's actually going to go towards the backs of Tribe, try and steal them away. They're giving away an Elder Treant for this, but if they can take away some of these backs, that is a good trade for TSM.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm interested to see this combination they have put together here. Obviously, Bestchuck is going to be in the lane on the weapon Blackfeather, and he's doing a good job, rotated through to the backs, taking away the CS here, and he's even looking to make it out here alive, so huge advantage going over to Team Solo Mid there, denying jungle farm and ambient onto Dienzio and T-Tigers. So they've taken a massive rotation there, and again, this is going to be a weapon Blackfeather who is able to get in and out of a lot of situations that Tribe are going to try to put up here. We'll have the Gauntlet out of max screen, can Rose offensive in and out of that. We'll have the Ordained coming out of T-Tigers. Obviously, you can use the Rose offensive if you need to get in and out of that, but there is that additional stun, which is going to be the active camo that he has to be a little bit worried about, and we'll probably see him pick up a Aegis anyway for T-Tigers on this Crystal Baptiste. So, TSM have a very clear win situation, is just destroy Dienzio, whereas it's a little bit less set in stone for Tribe. I mean, both Fonzie and Bestchuck are going to have a very high damage potential in the late game.
I'm sure Tribe will want to try and win it out a little bit earlier on. That seems to have been the way that they are able to take down TSM across the course of this series. Used double minion candy on these waves to try and push it up in towards TSM, but FlashX and Bestchuck doing a good job of forcing Tribe onto the back foot ever so slightly. Vonsi is aggressing into the jungle as well of Tribe, as Tigers is now going to come up and join the lane. Have to see if Vonsi decides to actually go in on this, or is just looking for a good flank position in case a fight breaks out.
Probably looking for a flank to try to get onto Dienzio, who is very, very squishy here in this early game phase. And Dienzio is quite low right now. He has to be careful. There's no Lyra or Adagio in this game to help heal him up.
And T-Tigers has spotted out Vonsi. FlashX jumps in with the Impale, uses the healing flask as well as Tribe now back away towards the lane once again. Bad Mojo hits onto a couple of members of TSM, and Tribe will be able to disengage. They have about a 300 gold lead here, and they're in an okay position. Not dominant yet. Gold evens out as Bestchuck clears out the wave, and as the Elder Treant spawns, both TSM and Tribe are trying to fight around it, but TSM have the advantage at the moment.
Yeah, they absolutely do have the edge. They've got a little bit of gold ahead, but not a lot.
Oh, FlashX is going to fall first, though. He went in with the Impale. Dienzio getting chased away here, and Vonsi backs away first. TSM went a little bit too aggressive before Bestchuck was able to arrive, and Tribe caught them off guard, and now they'll take the Treant for themselves.
Yeah, just like that, we were just talking about how things were looking good for Team Solo Mid, but Flash gets caught out in a little bit too far of a situation. Vonsi and Chuck will be okay, losing out on Flash, giving some first blood bounty over to the side of Tribe, although it did go on max screen, so that is just going to get the Fountain online a little bit sooner. It's not really going to accelerate Dienzio or T-Tigers, but they are looking to force up this wave right now.
That they are trying to get it up towards the turret. Won't get too much damage down on it, but Tribe will be okay with that for the time being. have a quick look at where we're going itemization-wise. The Enzio with the heavy steel and 6 sins, as you'd expect on the Kestrel. Sorrow Blade early on gives you a big damage spike. T-Tigers can go basically anywhere. This is the problem with CP itemization at the moment. You get an Eclipse Prism and a Heavy Prism, and it's just like, well, that could be any of 8 different items, so there's no point us really guessing where he's going to go.
Well, for T-Tigers, it'll probably be a Shatterglass. That's typically what we see first coming out of the Baptiste. A few times we've seen the Dragon's Eye come out, since Baptiste does stick around and fights pretty well. We'll probably see either the Dragon's Eye or the Aftershock come out first on Von C. It's looking like the Dragon's Eye right now. And Alpha is incredibly good at stacking up that item. She's so tanky. She's able to constantly be in the face of the enemies where you're going to start building that up. But now that he has the chronograph built, he will probably be looking to go with that Aftershock first, just for the additional cooldown, the additional reboot speed, as well as just the actual proc damage of the Aftershock itself, which on 2.9.1 is still the full 15%. So it's still at its prime.
Great poke coming out here from Tribe as they push up this turret down to half. Best Chuck almost goes down to the glimmers in the bad mojo, but doesn't quite fall. Tigers still looking for another bad mojo. The Ordained comes out, and that's a fountain use from TSM, just trying to defend this turret, but Tribe are not relenting in their pressure in the lane. They force Best Chuck back, and they will get the turret down at the 5-minute mark. Good early game once again from Tribe.
And Tribe, again, they are a team that if you sleep on, they will punish you for it time and time again. And it has really shown it is going to take some time for several of these carries to come online on both sides. Baptiste is kind of at his first spike with the Shatterglass being complete, as well as Von C is very close to his Aftershock. Obviously, we know the Kestrel, needs to get pretty far in her build before she's really having that game-changing impact, as well as Blackfeather. Not only does he have to get some offense online, which is looking to be that Serpent's Mask breaking point, and then maybe even a Bone Saw, depending on the itemization that the Enzio goes, is going to have to get a lot of defense so that he can survive those Glimmer shots living on that front line. And here we go, Bonsi's in, already a lot of damage.
Huge amount of damage across the members of Tribe, but a great fearsome shade forces Von C and Best Chuck to disengage the fight, and that's exactly what T-Tigers can do. One shot will hit onto Best Chuck, and D'Enzio on this Kestrel looking pretty strong early on in this game. Tiger's going to go after picking up that Shadowglass. He's just bought himself an infusion as well, so Tribe ready if a fight does erupt. With 7 minutes in, that Goldman is almost fully stacked. I want to see Tribe be aggressive. I want to see Tribe actually push 4 turrets, 4 Goldmans, 4 deep vision into the TSM jungle, because you feel if the game goes too long, TSM just have too many answers to Tribe's composition and too much damage from this Alpha and from this Blackfeather combined.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the Aftershock on Von C. He's going to start to look to be really aggressive and can do a lot of chunk damage to anybody on the enemy team. And it's going to be about D'Enzio's position, and he has to be so cautious because Von C is such a huge threat to that backline without actually targeting the backline. Von C is able to build up a couple of the core charge stacks with his, or the core overload stacks with his core charge, and then come in with a prime directive. There is a large AoE slash damage of crystal power that will come through. It scales up with both crystal power itself, as well as each stack of that core overload. So Von C can put a lot of damage out onto D'Enzio, even if Max Green is frontlining, and it's all because of the actual use of balancing your stacks and trying to get the damage down correctly. And then obviously Best Chuck, he has the Rose offensive, he can get into the fight, he can get onto D'Enzio, and can use that ability, both as a gap closer as well as a way to avoid that active camo stun. So this should be a super exciting game.
Great, gets him all into Impale Tigers there. The Prime Directive comes out. Good gauntlet, though, from Max Green to try and separate this fight. T-Tiger somehow surviving through this, but eventually he will get knocked into the wall once again and will fall. D'Enzio has laid down the active camo, but cannot re-engage onto TSM. Von C not done yet, and that's another kill. Almost going over to TSM, but Max Green able to get himself out. Now they dive onto D'Enzio underneath the turret. D'Enzio getting absolutely shredded down. It's like 2 kills for TSM as they once again come out on top in these team fights.
Yeah, they absolutely have. And now Vainglory is looking to add a little bit of salt into the wounds there as he's taking away some jungle farm. In fact, it looks like he's going to get this whole rotation. So that is a huge advantage now starting to form for Vainglory, as he's going to be getting ahead of T-Tigers ever so slightly, but ever so certainly.
And you have to remember, like, for TSM, if they win this game, they are in Worlds. They are guaranteed that World spot. There's no way that they can lose out depending on like finals results or third place match results. Whereas with Tribe, even if they win this game, they still have to do well in the finals. I think they actually still have to have TSM lose 0-2 in the third place match, and they have to win the finals for it to happen. So it's a lot harder for Tribe from this situation, but they do still have that chance at the World slot. Both teams still fighting for their right to go to Singapore.
Yeah, and both teams are neck and neck at this point. This is the third game. They are 1-1. Both of them not only looking for that world spot, but to prove which one of them is the better team today. And it's so far a slight edge to Team Solo Mid, but again, you can never count out Dienzio. He comes in clutch so often when it matters. You know, throughout the regular season, you might see him, you know, maybe be like, oh, yeah, well, he's kind of underperforming. But him, T-Tigers, and Max Green, when it comes down to these clutch situations, they really excel when everything is on the line. We saw it at the Unified Championship in summer as well. You know, they came in, you know, barely making it in that last couple weeks of the Vainglory8 to being the team that went all the way to second place. They took Team Solo Mid down to get there as well. They're looking for that repeat performance.
That they are pushing in the lane once again, have that turret advantage for the time being, but TSM have a gold advantage because of the couple of kills that they secured. Chuck now with a breaking point and a Serpent's Mask. Scaling up on this Black Feather. Vainglory has the Aftershock and just completed his Dragon's Eye as well, so he's looking very, very strong. If TSM take a fight, you have to think, assuming they are able to get the engage on their own terms, that they will be able to win it out. They've started up the gold mine. They know that Tribe have to react to this. Tribe have pushed up the lane, so they have a bit of advantage in that respect. But here comes the engage. Prime Directive doesn't hit, and the Crucible used as well. Now Tribe will want to turn this one back around, because here comes the Gauntlet, and here comes Dienzio. The carry coming up big for Tribe. You have to think the gold miner taken down by TSM. Vainglory goes in for the engage. The healing flask is used. Dienzio kiting back, stuttering for his life, and stuttering for Tribe's chances at that world spot. Vainglory jumps in, but the active camo doesn't quite connect. TSM somehow still alive throughout this. The bounce has been used from both teams. A great Githyan wall from Flash X means that TSM will only lose one member, and Tribe do win out the fight, but it's only a 1-0, and they lost the gold mine as well.
Yeah, and you know, I'm kind of confused why Vainglory didn't use his termination protocol at all in that last fight. He had the Prime Directive ready to go. We already had the Flask burned out of Max Green. They could have looked for so much more aggression, but he's the pro. I'm gonna go with he's the pro, but it just from me, it just felt a little off. You know, he was in such a good position. He was low on health. He could have got in onto Dienzio, and now he might lose his life to T-Tigers.
Infinite Reboot has to be popped, and that means the Termination Protocol won't be up if another fight erupts soon. It was a good fearsome shade as well from T-Tigers to disengage, as Tribe were able to take a turret off that single kill they got on towards Flash X. Chuck now has the full metal jacket completed, or just the metal jacket. And Flash X has one for himself as well, so they are pretty tanky in towards Dienzio, who has gone for a Bonesaw third weapon power item here to try and get through some of the armor that TSM are building up.
Yeah, and they've done such a great job prioritizing that armor that it's forced Dienzio to go away from that heavy crit. You know, we already have a metal jacket on Best Chuck and Flash, as well as Vainglory is very close to his as well. So we'll have to see if Dienzio is able to kite around long enough to get through that armor and really get damage onto the health bars of Team Solo Mid. And that's gonna, you know, come with the preemptive that it has to be Max Green and T-Tigers keeping Dienzio alive. Yes, Dienzio has that active camo and he has weapon power, but that alone is not going to be enough to prevent the amount of dive that comes out of Team Solo Mid.
We'll have to see if Tribe are able to take a fight on their terms, because it doesn't feel like it at the moment. TSM seem to have their number. They'll start up the gold miner once again, and Tribe look to face up into TSM here. Dienzio was backing. Is sitting on 1,000 gold. We'll try and get it from the Jungle Shop instead. Here's the Prime Directive. It jumps onto Vainglory8. The active camera comes down. The second gauntlet as well. Dienzio kiting back as much as he can, but TSM somehow still advancing forward here. Best Chuck in with the Rose Offensive. Good double stun there with the active camera, but Dienzio once again gets an active camera down. A great Githia wall though from FlashX. Lock up Tribe. Tigers impaled. And that is a spear through the heart of Tribe. You have to feel that TSM now have everything they need to take that world spot away from Tribe and from Rogue.
Yeah, and that looked so good when Dienzio was getting those good active camo stuns. It looked like they were going to be able to turn around the fight, but FlashX comes through with a great Githian wall that allows Best Chuck and Vainglory8 to finish that one off. And now that's the first turret going to go down finally. TSM taking that objective, as well as they're looking to take this gold mine as well. Max Greed, while he could have tried to rotate down, he probably wouldn't have made it in time, and it would have been very risky because of the amount of chase and lockdown potential that the TSM roster have. Obviously, you know, Flash now with this Echo, if he can get onto Dienzio, he can essentially take Dienzio out in a fight long enough for Best Chuck and Vainglory8 to kill him, and that's a really scary position for the Kestrel to be in, and he has to be so careful looking forward into these next couple fights, because now that the Kraken's online, if another fight goes to TSM that way, it is going to be a TSM in the final, and it's going to be TSM going to Worlds as well.
Just have a pause coming out. I'm sure we'll get this resolved as quickly as possible, but as you say, with the Kraken alive, I feel that if TSM get that next one, they are pretty much guaranteed to win this game and win this series and face Cloud9 in the finals of the VG8, of course, as well. So a match that they will want to prove they are it's kind of like the deciding match for who is the best team at Worlds for NA. You know, if Cloud9 face TSM, they'll both be guaranteed a world spot. If Cloud9 face Tribe have to prove they're better than C9 to secure a world spot for themselves. So that finals is going to be exciting, although if TSM win, there's no world spot still on the line.
Yeah, no, it'll be decided at the end of this game if TSM is 100% for sure for Worlds or not. Obviously, even if they do drop to Tribe, they can still get into a position to go to Worlds if they're able to win their the third place matchup and Tribe loses to Cloud9. So that is important information to make note of too, and we'll have to see what happens. Now we're back in the game. This Kraken is almost taken by Team Solo Mid. Can Tribe make the miracle steal?
Dienzio's looking for the flank here. That Kraken's so low. The one-shot, one-kill blocked up by Vainglory8. There's the Fist and Shade as well, but that's blocked as well. And TSM get the Kraken, and they're turning towards Dienzio as well. The on-point, the Impale doesn't quite get the stun. There's the Gauntlet out for Max Green as well, but TSM are not giving up yet. Still on the chase with those on-points. Eventually, they will back away towards the Kraken, but the push is big here from TSM. With a 2,000 gold lead, they can look to take at least a couple of turrets with this Kraken.
They can look to take at least a couple of turrets, and if they're able to find a fight, the death timers aren't that long yet, but they could look for additional turrets as well on top of that, and we'll have to see if they're able to position correctly. Obviously, they're looking to get onto Dienzio, and a Mist and Pale is not how they're going to do it, but Vainglory8 looking to be sneaky. Look at this rotation from Vainglory8 down here, but the Prime Directive misses.
Yeah, not hitting that Prime Directive gives away your position just ever so slightly as well there from Vainglory8. Fist and Shade is still up here for Tigers, and the Gauntlet available. No Echo, though, for Max Green, so they're only going to have one Gauntlet in this next fight. Good Ordained, the Impale once again misses. Here comes the engage with the Prime Directive onto T-Tigers. There's the Gauntlet, but he's stunned out of it by FlashX. And now T-Tigers chase down the Infinite Reboot into Termination Protocol from Vainglory8, looking for the damage on towards Dienzio, who is somehow still alive off towards the back of this fight. The Kraken will get the choke point turret, and TSM might look to push in ever so slightly further here. Best Chuck is low, and TSM decide they want to disengage. They'll let the Kraken get one or two shots on towards that turret, but it's not going to be much more than that. And Tribe will keep themselves alive in this series.
Yeah, they're keeping themselves alive by a thread. There's still an opportunity where they can come back and they can win this one, as equally as there's an opportunity that Team Solo Mid can look for one more fight and just end the game. And this is getting so intense here, this close to the finals, and everything is on the line for Tribe right now. You know, we just discussed it. Even if TSM lose, there is still a world where TSM can still get that world spot. If Tribe lose, that's not the same case. Every little bit that they have needs to go into these next couple plays if they want to be able to defeat Team Solo Mid.
They are so close to being out of contention. You have to remember as well, Tribe had a disappointing first split. You know, facing up 4 Worlds here. I think they only got 6 points in the first split, but after an incredible split now, they were so close to Worlds, and you have to think that there's a degree of mental strength that comes in at this point in the game. When you're behind, when you know you have to win this series to be able to get a shot at that Worlds position, you really call on your mental reserves. You really call on your veteran players to step up, say, okay, we can do this. We can actually fight back against TSM, one of the best teams in North America. This is where Tribe are relying on DNZO. This is where they're looking to T-Tigers and saying, look, you guys need to step up. You need to show why you are worth such a long-term investment here from Tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we might be getting ready to have a fight breaking out here. Here we go.
Yeah, T-Tiger stunned up in towards the wall. Best Chuck with the chase. The Rose offensive is the kill. And now they're chasing to Max Green as well. Vaunty with a great prime directive. Max Green puts the gauntlet across the wall. But TSM can just turn back towards the Kraken. They'll take out this Crystal Sentry. And with the Kraken alive, TSM might be looking towards taking that final spot in Worlds for NA.
Yeah, they're definitely looking so. With only T-Tigers down, they can't horribly push in, but what they can do is they can turn their attention onto this Kraken, and that's going to help them so much in their push to try to get through to get to the finals. And again, if Team Solo Mid win this game, then it's lights out for Rogue, who have been sitting down since yesterday, since their loss against Cloud9. They've been sitting watching and hoping that Team Solo Mid and that Tribe would fail. And now, with Team Solo Mid having this Kraken and pushing down the lane with only 2 turrets remaining, Tribe's gotta be feeling pretty uncomfortable right now.
That they do. When you're facing up against TSM, one of the veteran teams, one of the oldest teams in North America, you know that you are not in for a good time. We've seen every member of TSM step up as well. Best Chuck having a great series overall. FlashX stunning Max Green out of a gauntlet in that last fight to win it for them, and Von C with that incredible CP Black Feather performance in Game 2. Here he goes in once again with the Prime Directive, looking for the engage, the route onto Max Green. FlashX in that front line, stepping up for TSM now, and they are just going to go straight for the turrets. The Kraken there has taken basically no damage. The gauntlet comes down from Max Green to try and separate, to try and buy some time here for Tribe, but the stun on towards the Batiste is absolutely huge. The Prime Directive, Von C knocking on the door of this Crystal. And knocked back onto Chuck. He's dead, but Tribe, what can they do? Because it's 2 members of TSM still alive, and no Crystal turrets are going to remain here for Tribe. TSM locked up. Von C gets another kill. He's chasing onto Tigers, and the Kraken will do a lot of the work here for TSM. Eventually, they'll take down the Crystal, and they will win this series 2-1 and guarantee their spot in the Worlds. They, TSM and Cloud9 are your North American Worlds representatives as they go through to the finals this week.
That's such a great win for TSM. It was looking good for Rogue, but just due to the events, that's now Team Solo Mid will be going to Worlds, and they will be looking for their chance at a rematch up against what is now Rock's Armada. Previously, obviously, was Phoenix. So, you know, great plays out of them, and I'm excited to see what they pull out against Cloud9. Will we see kind of the more fun, laid-back matchup for the finals since it doesn't matter, or will these teams give it their all and really define who is the better team?
We'll have to wait and see, because that is up next. But before that, we get to see the 3 handsome men on the analyst desk once again. Munch, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Team Solo Mid are your North American champions in the end. They are going to be going to Singapore. They are going to be representing North America alongside Cloud9 at the World Championship after a grueling series. 2-1 victory over Tribe. It could